Hola mis conejitos, ¿cómo estás? Me llamo Alicia.
Here's
Hello,
my
my
center
buddies.
of
How are you? My name is Allison, and today we are playing Nancy Drew, Legend of the Crystal Skull. I'm kinda psyched to be playing this. It feels like it's been over a week. Probably has been. So let's go ahead and get started, shall we? Alright, so I believe we dressed Iggy in a costume of a mailman, postman, and we got this letter from Milo Research and Technology. It's basically a letter from Mr. Milo himself saying that the crystal skull is a fake, which is just really disappointing and would explain why Bruno Bolet got a heart attack. We're wondering if this letter could be fake or if it's true. So fortunately that letter had a number. We can call Mr. Milo ourselves and find out if it's true.
Yeah?
Is this Milo Research and Technology?
This is Chaz, Milo. Service forwarded your call to my cell. What do you want?
Are you all right?
I'm at the gym. On the treadmill. It's called multitasking.
Well, about the letter you sent to Dr. Boulay, you know, where you told him the skull was a fake, I was just wondering...
I never told him that.
What?
Never told him what?
I told him that skull was authentic.
No, you said in the letter the skull was carved using modern instruments.
I said all the tests I ran proved the skull had been hand-carved and hand-polished. Probably took decades to make.
The
Wow.
letter Dr. Boulay got said just the opposite.
Then the letter he got must not have been the letter that I wrote.
Which means
Are
he
you
was
saying the
murdered.
crystal skull is
Dun
real?
dun dun.
Hey, I'm not saying it's magic or anything. I'm just saying it wasn't made using 19th century, 20th century, or 21st century technology.
Did you carbon date it to see how old it was?
The thing was pure quartz. No carbon in
Oh,
quartz.
that's right.
No carbon dating. Hey, look, I'm gonna hang up now. If I try to talk anymore, I'm gonna pass out.
Just one more
Understandable.
question. Did you send that letter saying the skull was authentic to anyone else?
No, just Dr. Bolet. I heard he died recently. Good thing I billed him up front.
Yeah, well, thanks for your help.
No problem.
Well, I can tell you one thing. The actor who voiced him did a really good job. Almost convinced me. Anyways, so... It's interesting. I just realized, though, we haven't called Professor Hotchkiss. But it's also been a while since we've called Ned. So let's call both of them and then maybe head out. Come on, Ned.
Hey, Nancy. How's it going?
Pretty good.
Meaning...
I'm still trying to figure out how you got to be friends with Henry.
Well, we're not best friends or anything. Heck, we're not really even friends. I just feel sorry for the guy. I mean, he never hangs out with anyone between classes, and when I'd heard there'd been a death in the family, I just wanted to make sure he was okay all by himself down there.
Don't worry, he's fine. He's the executor of his great-uncle Bruno's estate, which he's not real happy about. But he and Bruno weren't that close, so he's not grief-stricken or anything.
Right.
That's good to hear.
At least, he's not grief-stricken when it comes to his great-uncle. I think he still misses his parents a lot. I saw him out in the cemetery by what I think is their crypt.
Oh, yeah.
He seemed pretty upset.
I'm not surprised. I get the feeling that what Henry looks like on the outside is just the opposite of what he looks like on the inside.
Usually the
You know,
case.
you're a pretty nice guy.
Yeah, I know.
Bruno Bolet's housekeeper, Renee, is still here, despite the fact that she and Henry don't really get along that well.
Why do you think she's staying on?
She says it's because Bruno paid her in advance.
But you don't believe
Not for a second.
10% of Bruno's estate is supposed to go to her. Only Henry's been selling off Bruno's assets on the sly, and somehow Renee found out.
It's not that
I
hard.
think she's staying on so she can try to bust him.
Why is Henry selling off assets? I thought he was pretty much the sole heir.
3 words. High-maintenance girlfriend.
So this Renee person isn't just being paranoid.
Right.
What this Renee person is freaky.
In what way?
She wanted me to drink some strange-looking concoction after I passed out from the
Nancy.
smoke bomb, but she refused to tell me what was in it. And she wears this weird little pouch around her neck. Says what's inside it connects her to the energy that powers the universe.
She's probably harmless, but stay on her good side, just in case.
Yeah.
I've been having Bess do some sleuthing for me.
You're kidding. I thought you said Bess was a disaster when it came to detective stuff.
Right?
I never said that. I mean, I may have said she wasn't particularly adept at snooping.
Ah, but this is not snooping. It's sleuthing.
Exactly.
So how's she doing?
You know Bess, when she puts her mind to something, there's no stopping her. She's doing awesome.
Awesome.
Okay, maybe not awesome, but she's certainly, you know.
Not totally screwing up?
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I figured.
Are you familiar with the legend of the so-called crystal skulls?
Is that where aliens supposedly scattered a bunch of perfectly formed crystal skulls all around the world like thousands of years ago? And all the skulls have different magical powers?
Okay,
Something
now it
like
sounds
that,
weird.
yeah. Apparently, Henry's uncle was the proud owner of the Whisperer, the skull that was supposed to make whoever owned it live forever.
Only now he's dead and another superstition bites the dust.
Maybe, maybe not. See, this book I found in Bruno's library said no one who has owned the Whisperer has ever died of natural causes.
So how did they die?
They were all murdered.
Come on, you don't believe that crystal skull stuff is true, do you?
I'm not sure what I believe yet. But right now, what I think doesn't matter. The people who knew Bruno had the skull, if one of them believed in the Whisperer's power, they may have figured the only way they'd ever be rid of Bruno was to cause his death.
Right?
But didn't he die of a stroke or something?
Heart attack.
Well, there you go. Natural causes.
Heart attacks can be induced.
I've been
Yeah.
watching too many of those forensic detective shows.
That may be, but what's really interesting is the skull is missing.
That is interesting.
And I'll bet you anything that's what my bony friend in the red ascot was looking for.
Does Henry know where the skull is?
He doesn't know anything about it. At least that's what he says. But if that skull is still around here, I intend to find it.
I kind of figured that.
Well, yeah, because this is Nancy Drew we're talking about here. Alright, so let's see. There's the question about Henry and his girlfriend, Bruno's doctor, Iguana.
I'm pretty sure a letter caused Bruno Bolet to have that heart attack.
A letter?
Apparently,
Yeah.
Bruno and Renee had recently taken the crystal skull to a lab to see if it was authentic. The lab guy mailed Bruno a letter summarizing his test results, which showed the skull was a fake, and when Bruno read it, I think the shock was just too much for him.
So much for his being murdered.
Actually, that's not quite true.
Right?
When I called the lab guy, he said that in his letter he told Bruno the skull was authentic.
You mean someone faked the letter that said the skull was a fake?
Yep.
Yep, which means Bruno more or less did die at someone else's hand.
Good grief. Have you told anyone?
No, and I don't think I'm going to. For one thing, I don't want to tip my hand. For another thing, I don't want anyone thinking that skull is the real deal after all.
Which apparently it is.
The only thing those lab tests proved is that the skull is at least 300 years old. Not that it has magical powers or anything.
Yeah.
But still, finding it would be pretty cool.
I would love to have it in my collection. But alas, in this world, crystal skulls are not real. At least not that I know of. See, at least, you know what? No, I'm going to bring it up
Did
when
I tell you that
I'm
Henry
gonna,
confessed to
when
selling
I'm
off
doing
some of
something
Bruno's
at the same
things
time.
because he needed money to keep his girlfriend Summer happy?
You mentioned that he had a high-maintenance girlfriend.
Trying to keep up with all her crazy demands is making him nuts. You're so lucky.
Hey, don't I know it. Think he sold off the crystal skull?
I don't think so, no. He acts like he's never heard of the crystal skull.
And so the search goes on.
Bruno
Right?
Bolet's doctor, Gilbert Buford, was apparently Bruno's best friend as well.
Think Bruno told him about the skull?
Yes, in fact, Dr. Buford told Bess that Bruno showed it to him once. But apparently he told Bruno the skull was bogus, and Bruno got a little ticked off. Never showed it to him again.
Well, when it comes to murdering someone and making it look like a heart attack, a doctor's got to be right up there when it comes to suspects.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I've been thinking the same thing.
So what else is going on?
In fact, that kind of reminds me of the murder mystery that I went to a couple weeks back.
Get this, Bruno had a pet iguana that he liked to dress up in little costumes.
Say what?
I kid you not. I found little outfits for Iggy, that's the iguana's name, Iggy, in Bruno's study. He could dress him up like a mailman, an optometrist, or a pirate.
Now I've heard everything.
No,
You
you
haven't.
haven't.
Iggy also hides things in the vents, and depending on what outfit he's wearing, he'll go into the vent and bring out different stuff.
You have got to be joking.
Like, I dressed him up as a mailman, and he brought me out a letter.
Poor Henry. If weirdness is genetic, he doesn't stand a chance.
Nothing
come
more to
on.
report.
Keep me posted. You got that?
Got it. Bye, Ned.
Bye, Nance.
Alright, you know what? I am actually going to bring up the task list real quick just to see what we
Still have to do that.
done. We need to dress him up as the optometrist so we can get the glass eye. And we also need to dress him up as a pirate. Which means we need to get more loquats. That's going to be a really tough challenge. Considering. Alrighty, dighty. Professor Hotchkiss! Hello!
Yes, hello.
Hi, my name's Nancy Drew. Is this Professor Hotchkiss?
I am she, Nancy Drew. Your name has a ring to it. Do I know you?
Yep.
Yes, as a matter of fact, we met a little while back in Wisconsin.
Oh, yes. You were the delightful young lady doling out the samples in the tasting room of that cheese factory. Yum, yum.
Oh, brother.
No, I met you at Wickford Castle.
That's ridiculous. There was no cheese tasting room at Wickford Castle.
No, we were both guests there. I found a journal written by Marie Antoinette which you translated. Remember?
Thanks to you, suddenly all I can think about is how wonderful a nice big slab of Colby cheese would taste right now. Listen, Mandy, I'm on a deadline, so if you could please just tell me why you called.
But my name isn't...
Deadline! Let's cut to the chase, shall we? Chop, chop.
Did a man from New Orleans named Bruno
My
Belay
gosh.
ever call you?
Ah, now there's a name you can remember. Bolé, nice and French. I'm a scholar of French history, you know.
Yes,
I
I
do
know.
know.
So did Bruno Belay call you?
Indeed he did. Oui, oui.
Oh, boy. Can you tell me anything that you two talked about?
How long ago was that? Do you remember?
2, perhaps 3 years ago, he had just read my book, The Crystal Skulls. Fact or fable, one of my best efforts. Sold like hotcakes, smothered in a rich, tangy lemon sauce.
Okie dokie. That actually sounds really good, actually. Owning one of the skulls.
Do you
talked
remember
about.
what you talked about?
If memory serves, we talked mostly about the skull called the Whisperer. He wanted to know if I had learned any more about it since my book was published, which I hadn't, or if I had any theory as to what happened to it, which I didn't.
And that was the extent of your conversation?
Well, now, let me think. My, such insatiable curiosity, Nellie. You remind me of someone I encountered on one of my journeys. But for the life of me, I cannot remember her name or the circumstances.
Gosh
Nancy
dang it.
Drew? Wickford Castle?
Ah, the eyes have it.
I'm sorry?
That's what Bruno Bolé said when I turned the tables and asked him if he had any idea where the Whisperer was. He said, the eyes have it. Then he chuckled and hung up.
Oh, as in his glass eyes.
How much would a crystal skull like the Whisperer be worth?
In this crazy day and age, where the shorn hair and used tissues of celebrities get sold for thousands of dollars, there's absolutely no telling, Candy.
Right.
$500,000
I was thinking so.
easily. Maybe even $1 million. Maybe 2. Maybe 10. The sky's the limit. Cha-ching, cha-ching.
Dang, girl. Didn't know you could count that high.
If someone found a skull made of crystal, how could they be sure it's one of the crystal skulls?
Right.
Wonderful question, Francie. How indeed? Because there are sure to be thousands of fakes out there. Perhaps tens of thousands. But remember, the real skulls were made long before the tools commonly used for carving today were invented.
Right.
Which means...
Of course.
Let's put on our thinking caps.
Well, it doesn't matter which one we choose, because they're both true.
Modern-day tools would have left marks if the skull was a fake?
Exactly so. Mind you, the marks on a good fake would be microscopic and thus imperceptible small to the human eye. However, any thorough laboratory analysis would quickly unmask a counterfeit.
So the only way to prove that a skull is the real deal is by proving it's not a fake?
And by examining its provenance, its history of ownership.
Yeah.
If it can be shown that a particular specimen has been passed along from antiquity into modern times and didn't just suddenly appear in, say, Germany in the mid-19th century, that would tend to support its authenticity as well.
So...
The idea that the Whisperer can make its owner immortal, do you believe that?
I believe that things that defy any so-called rational explanations happen all the time, Nessie. Now, does that mean there are mysterious external forces at
It's
work in
interesting
the
how she
universe
keeps messing
of
up
which we
Nancy's
do
name.
not and cannot ever have full knowledge? Or does it all boil down to us? If the human heart desperately wants something to be true, does the human mind have the power to make it true? Who knows? Oh, questions, questions, questions. Oh, how dreary life would be without them.
Do you know of any relationship between the Whisperer and a crew in New Orleans called the Jolly Rogers?
A crew named after the skull and crossbones flag flown by European and American pirates? How so very colorful! Yo-ho-ho! Why do you ask?
The man who called you about the Whisperer, Bruno Bollet, he was a member of the Jolly Rogers. I just thought maybe one had something to do with the other.
Yeah.
Had the Whisperer fallen into the hands of pirates, I promise you my research would have turned up that fact. But it didn't. Therefore, no relationship. Coincidence strikes again.
Thanks for your help.
Toodaloo!
It's interesting because, like, in other playthroughs of this, in other gameplays of this, I was able to mention to Professor Hotchkiss that he died. That he had the Whisperer and he died, and she would mention. I guess I didn't read the sentences, the choices correctly or something, because I remember her saying, if he had told me he had the skull. Oh man, I can't remember her wording, but man, Professor Hotchkiss has a mouth on her. Have you noticed? Alright, so I'm looking at this because there are actually quite a bit of stuff to do in this room. Alright, so let's look at that book. We're probably going to be skipping the first two. Alright, so I am going to go ahead and skip these two and get to the teeth because I want to make sure that we have everything for it. The history of Quincy T. Booker's teeth. Primary teeth history. Filled upper right second molar. Extracted upper right central incisor, then upper left central incisor. Filled lower left lateral incisor. Extracted lower right canine. Extracted upper left first bicuspid, extracted lower left canine, extracted lower left third molar. And this is the permanent teeth history. Okay. Oh, primary must be kids' teeth. Permanent is adult. Okay. Alright, cool. So we'll go through the rest of the book when we get down to the library, I suppose. Let's get out of here. Dun, 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 do, 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 do. Alright, so it is unfortunate that we have to do this right in front of Henry, but I suppose that's fine. Oh, I didn't show you guys where it was on the display. Shoot. Oh well. But according to the upper right second molar, it's going to be in the last top right. I think it's this one, right? Yeah. Upper right central incisor is going to be fifth from the right. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Upper left central incisor. It's going to be right here. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's going to be here. Lower left central incisor. It's going to be 4 from the left. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright. And then the primary teeth. It's going to be the lower right canine, which is 6 from the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And upper left first bicuspid, 5 from the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Why would the lower left canine be the same spot for the lower right canine? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the lower left third molar, last from bottom left. Alright, I need to go back to the room because I think I have this. I'm pretty sure I have some of this stuff wrong, considering the flaw that I just saw. Alright. The upper right second molar. Well, okay, so this is... We're looking at these teeth from the doctor's perspective. But... Actually, you know what? We can get a hint from Ned about this. Because I tend to get messed up when it comes to this
Hi, Nancy.
puzzle.
Hey, Ned.
What's going on?
In order to find that crystal skull, it looks like I'm going to have to find all of Bruno's glass eyes.
Bruno wore a glass eye?
He wore a lot of glass eyes. Not all at once, of course, but from this box I found in his study, it looks like he had at least 25.
What makes you think finding them will lead you to the skull?
Something Bruno said to Professor Hotchkiss, whom I've met before, by the way, in Wisconsin. Did I ever tell you about her?
Why does that name bring Boots to mind? Boots and cheese.
Anyway, it turns out she's an expert on the crystal skulls. So Bruno called her once, and when she asked him if he knew where the skull called the Whisperer was, he said, "The eyes have it."
He meant eyes with an E instead of an A.
Yep.
Right.
Did he lose all these eyes or hide them on purpose?
I'm pretty sure he hid them on purpose.
And I thought Henry was weird.
Right?
Could use a hint.
About what?
Stop using that word. Alright. Piece of paper and the dummy. We already solved that. Book in the library that's locked. Steps in the right direction. Buzzard statues. Here we are.
I can't figure out what the deal is with those books in the library that I can pull down but not out. Any thoughts?
If you look at those books as rows of teeth, with the bottom 2 rows being baby teeth and the top 2 rows being adult teeth, the story Bruno Bollet wrote about Quincy T. Booker's teeth will tell you which books to pull down and in what order.
Are you sure?
Positive. Just remember, dentists refer to teeth according to the patient's perspective, not theirs.
That's
Okay.
important?
Very.
Great. I really
Okay.
appreciate it.
Not a problem. Talk to you soon.